If you discovered that the machines designed to take your money weren't actually random, that they followed a pattern only a mathematician could see, would you walk away? Or would you trust a ghost who promised to teach you how to win, knowing that ghosts don't get caught, but the people who trust them do? The FBI field office in Newark occupied a brutalist concrete building off McCarter Highway, the kind of government architecture designed to make you feel small before you even walk through the door. On March 14, 2019, Ethan Cross sat in an interview room on the fourth floor, staring at evidence he couldn't deny. The room was small, white walls, metal table bolted to the floor, 2 chairs, a camera in the corner, red light blinking. The air smelled like industrial cleaner and stale coffee. Across from Ethan sat Special Agent Rachel Park, mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She had the controlled energy of someone who'd spent years learning to read people who lied for a living. Next to her was Michael Torres, Director of Security for the Atlantic City Casino Coalition. Ex-cop, late 40s, the kind of guy who'd seen every scam and took each one personally. Between them, spread across the table like autopsy photos, were printouts, win-loss reports, surveillance stills, bank statements, screenshots of encrypted chat conversations, a forensic analysis of Ethan's laptop, and a single USB drive containing what the FBI was calling the exploit. "Let's go through it one more time," Park said. Her voice was calm, almost kind. "You won $340,000 across 6 Atlantic City casinos over 14 months. You're a slot technician. You have access to the machines. You have a degree in computer science with a focus on algorithms. And we found this on your computer." She tapped one of the printouts, a PDF titled Legacy Year RRNG Timing Analysis V3 PDF. The document was 30 pages of technical specifications, machine models, firmware versions, timing windows, probability distributions. "This isn't luck," Park continued. "This is a blueprint. So tell us, how did you do it?" Ethan looked at the evidence, at his hands, at the camera recording everything. He was 28 years old, looked younger, thin, pale, the kind of exhaustion that came from months of looking over your shoulder. He wore a wrinkled button-down shirt and jeans. No lawyer. Couldn't afford one. He'd waived his right to counsel because he knew it didn't matter. The evidence was digital, irrefutable. "I found a pattern," he said quietly, "in the machines. The random number generators weren't random. They were predictable. If you knew the algorithm and the timing, you could calculate when they'd pay out." Torres leaned forward. "You tampered with the machines." "No, I didn't touch them. I didn't need to. The flaw was already there, built into the firmware." "Then how did you know?" Park asked. "Someone taught me." "Who?" Ethan met her eyes. "I only know him as Alex. We never met, never spoke, just encrypted messages. I don't know his real name. I don't know where he is." Park pulled out another document, a Bitcoin blockchain analysis. Traced transactions from Ethan's wallet to a series of mixer services, then to an Estonian exchange, then nothing. Dead end. "You sent him $136,000, Park said. 40% of everything you won. That's not a tip. That's a partnership. So either you tell us who Alex is, or you go down alone for the whole thing." Ethan's throat was dry. "I don't know who he is. That's the truth. He contacted me. He sold me the method. I paid him. He disappeared. That's how it worked." Torres slammed a hand on the table. "You expect us to believe you stole $333,000 from casinos based on instructions from someone you never met? Someone who doesn't exist?" "He exists," Ethan said, "but you'll never find him. He's too smart for that." Park closed the folder, sat back. "Here's what's going to happen. We're charging you with theft by deception, conspiracy, and wire fraud. You're looking at 5 to 7 years federal time, plus restitution. All of it, every dollar you won. But if you cooperate, if you tell us everything about how this worked, about Alex, about the method, maybe we can reduce that." "I'll tell you everything," Ethan said, "but it won't help you find him, because Alex isn't a person. He's a ghost, and ghosts don't leave evidence." Park opened her notebook. "Start from the beginning. How did you meet him?" Ethan closed his eyes, thought about the apartment he was about to lose, the student loans he'd never pay off, the casinos he'd never be allowed to enter again, the life he'd had 14 months ago, before everything. It started with debt, he said, and it ended with a message I should never have answered. 14 months earlier, Ethan Cross had been a struggling slot technician drowning in student debt. Then he received an encrypted message that promised to change everything. By the time he realized the cost, it was too late to walk away. January 2018. Atlantic City in winter was a study in contrasts. Casino lights blazing against gray skies, tourists in parkas gambling away money they'd flown across the country to lose. The boardwalk was empty except for gulls and people who had nowhere else to be. Ethan Cross lived 3 miles inland, in a garden apartment complex that had seen better decades. Studio apartment, 400 square feet. Rent, $950 a month, which was half his take-home pay. He sat at his kitchen table, a folding card table from Walmart, staring at his laptop screen. 3 browser tabs open, all telling the same story in different corporate fonts. Great Lakes, student loan servicing, amount due. 1/4/18, past due, 62 days. Navient, payment required, 8/47, default warning. Wells Fargo private student loan, outstanding balance, $42,880, total student loan debt, $121,000. Monthly payment if he'd stayed current, $1,400. On a salary of $38,000 a year, that was impossible math. After taxes, rent, car payment, insurance, food, there was nothing left. He'd been deferring, then missing payments, then ignoring calls from 800 numbers that always wanted money he didn't have. The email that had arrived that morning was different. Final notice. Wage garnishment proceedings to begin. 02/15/2018, unless payment received. They were going to take his paycheck, directly, before he even saw it. Ethan closed the laptop, stood, walked to the window. From here he could see the casino skyline, the Tropicana, the Borgata, the Ocean Resort Towers. Billions of dollars changing hands every day. The house always wins. The math guaranteed it, or so they claim. Ethan had a master's degree in computer science from Rutgers. He'd been 3 years into a PhD in computational mathematics. His dissertation was on predictive modeling and deterministic chaos systems when his advisor retired and the funding evaporated. He could have found another program, but his mother got sick. Medical bills. He took a leave of absence to help. She died 6 months later. He never went back. Now he fixed slot machines for the Majestic Crown Casino. Entry-level technician, $19 an hour. He reset error codes, replaced ticket printers, ran diagnostics on machines that tourists fed 20s into with the kind of hope that only ignorance allowed. He was good at it, patient, methodical, understood the technology better than most of his coworkers. But it was a dead-end job in a dying industry in a city built on the lie that you could beat probability. His phone buzzed, a text from his supervisor, Rita. Early shift tomorrow, 6 a.m., slot floor service, don't be late, Ethan replied. Got it. He looked at the laptop again, at the debt, at the threat. He thought about the machines he serviced every day, about the tourists who believed in luck, about the algorithms running underneath the flashing lights and spinning reels, code he understood better than the people playing them. He thought about randomness, about whether it actually existed, and he wondered, not for the first time, whether the house really always won, or whether they just counted on people not understanding the math. Ethan had spent 5 years studying randomness, chaos theory, cryptography, algorithmic probability. He never thought he'd use that knowledge to break a casino. But desperation has a way of rewriting your moral code. February 2018. The slot floor at the Majestic Crown was a cathedral to manufactured hope. 3,000 machines arranged in precise rows, each one a self-contained profit engine. Lights, sounds, near misses designed by psychologists to keep players engaged. The math was invisible but absolute. Over time, every machine returned 94% of money wagered. The house kept the rest. Multiply that by millions of spins, and the edge became a guarantee. Ethan walked through the floor at 6:30 a.m. before the crowds, carrying his service tablet and toolbox. The overnight shift had flagged 6 machines for maintenance. Standard stuff. Ticket printer jams, bill validator errors, touchscreen calibration. The 5th machine on his list was an Apex Gaming Lucky Spins model. Older unit, probably 8-9 years old. Tucked in a back corner near the restrooms where foot traffic was light. Error code 0A7. Payout mechanism fault. Ethan swiped his badge at the machine's service panel. The display switched from spinning reels to diagnostic mode. He opened the lower panel with a key from his belt. Inside, circuit boards, power supply, the hopper mechanism where coins used to drop, now just a relic, everything was ticket-based, and the main logic board where the real game lived. He connected his tablet to the diagnostic port, pulled up the machine's service log. Model, Apex Lucky Spins, LS400 firmware version, 2.4.1, last service, 11/03/2017 RNG module, LCG standard, legacy. Ethan stared at the screen. LCG, linear congruential generator, a pseudo-random number generator algorithm that had been standard in the 1990s and early 2000s. Simple, fast, and predictable if you knew the seed value. He scrolled through the diagnostic menu, found the RNG initialization parameters, seed source, system clock, Unix timestamp at spin initiation. Algorithm, xn, sornin, cornin, a, xn plus c, mod, im, parameters. Redacted, service level, 3 required. Ethan's pulse quickened. The machine was using a time-based seed. Every time a player pressed spin, the RNG generated a sequence based on the exact millisecond of the button press. The sequence was deterministic. Same seed, same outcome. The randomness was an illusion maintained by the fact that humans couldn't predict millisecond timing, but a computer could. He thought about his dissertation, about chaos theory, about the difference between true randomness, quantum events, radioactive decay, and pseudo-randomness, algorithms that looked random but were actually deterministic. Slot machines weren't random. They were complicated, and complication could be reverse engineered. Ethan fixed the payout mechanism, simple belt replacement. Logged the repair, closed the panel. He walked away, but the numbers stayed in his head. That night in his apartment, he opened his laptop and started writing code. Not because he planned to cheat, just because he wanted to know if it was possible. He pulled up the technical specifications for the Apex LS400, publicly available. Manufacturers published them for regulators. Found the RNG algorithm. It was a standard LCG with known parameters. He wrote a simulation. Seed, shocks, and current time, M's RNG output. Ganashar, in Lennon 035 month 245. Seed, plea 19345. Percent 2 or 31 outcome, Sharon orange output, percent to 37, Sharon map to 37 possible slot outcomes. He ran the simulation 1,000 times, varying the seed by milliseconds. The pattern was there. Subtle, but there. If you knew the algorithm, if you could estimate the system clock, if you timed your spins during specific windows when the seed values clustered around high payout outcomes, you could tilt the odds. Not guarantee a win, but shift probability from 8%, house edge, to maybe 52-55%. Just enough. Ethan closed the laptop, stared at the ceiling. This was knowledge he shouldn't have. Knowledge the casinos pretended didn't exist, but it did exist. And he had $121,000 in debt and a garnishment notice hanging over his head. Ethan closed the machine panel and walked away. But the numbers stayed in his head. And that night, he did something he'd later regret. He started writing code. March 2018. Ethan took a day off, told Rita he had a doctor's appointment. Instead, he went back to the Majestic Crown as a customer. He'd never gambled before, saw it as a tax on a numeracy. But now he wasn't gambling. He was testing a hypothesis. He walked onto the slot floor at 2 p.m., mid-afternoon, moderate crowd, enough noise to be invisible. He found the Apex Lucky Spins machine he'd serviced 2 weeks ago. Sat down, inserted a $20 bill. His phone was in his pocket, running a timer app he'd modified. It estimated the machine's internal clock based on his previous service access. He'd noted the timestamp. The app calculated probable high payout windows, periods when the seed values would align with favorable outcomes. The app vibrated. Green light. Play now. Ethan pressed the spin button. Minimum bet, 50 cents. The reel spun, stopped, 3 bars, payout, $5. He pressed spin again, waited for the app's signal, green, spin, payout, $3.50. Over the next 20 minutes, he played 40 spins, won on 18, lost on 22. But the wins were larger than the losses. Net result, $400 profit, statistically improbable, but not impossible. Anyone watching would just see a guy having a lucky session. Ethan cashed out, walked to the cage. The cashier, a woman in her 50s, name tag, Brenda, counted his credits, printed a voucher for $420. Lucky day, she said, smiling. Ethan's chest tightened. Yeah, beginner's luck. He took the cash, walked out, sat in his car in the parking garage for 10 minutes, hands shaking. The math worked. $400. That was 2 weeks of groceries, or a month's car insurance, or a small dent in the interest on his loans. If one machine was vulnerable, how many others were? He went home and searched, found a database of slot machines by manufacturer and firmware version. Apex Gaming alone had installed over 2,000 LS400 units across Atlantic City between 2006 and 2012. Most had never been upgraded. Firmware updates cost money, and if the machines were profitable, why fix them? Ethan pulled up a map of Atlantic City casinos. Marked the ones likely to have legacy Apex machines. 7 properties, probably dozens of vulnerable units. He opened a calculator, did the math. $400 per session, 3 sessions a week, across multiple casinos to avoid pattern recognition. Over 6 months, he stopped himself. This was insane. This was criminal. But his phone buzzed. Email notification, Great Lakes Student Loan Servicing, wage garnishment. Notice effective 03/30/2018. 25% of gross wages will be withheld. Ethan stared at the email, at the map, at the debt that had consumed his life. He told himself he'd do it once. Just enough to stop the garnishment. But that night he made a mistake that would change everything. He went looking for help online. The $400 covered 2 weeks of groceries. And Ethan realized, if one machine was vulnerable, how many others were? The answer, he'd soon discover, was thousands. And someone had already figured that out. Late March 2018. The dark web isn't as mysterious as movies make it seem. It's just encrypted networks accessed through specific browsers, hosting forums where people discuss things they can't discuss in public. Ethan used Tor, found a forum dedicated to advantage play, a euphemism for finding edges against casinos. Most of it was card counting, edge sorting, wheel clocking, legal gray areas. He posted a question, vague and hypothetical. Has anyone explored timing-based attacks on legacy slot RNGs, specifically LCG implementations with time-seeded initialization? 3 replies. 1. Theoretical but not practical. 2. Casinos monitor everything. You'd get caught. 3. DM me. The third message was from a user with no profile, no post history. Just an alphanumeric string, A13X, Jo47. Ethan clicked, received a private message. You're asking the right questions, but this isn't a place to discuss specifics. If you're serious, we should talk encrypted. Signal, number. Mention LCG in your first message. A. Ethan stared at the screen. This was the line. Responding meant crossing from curiosity into conspiracy. His phone buzzed. Another email. Navient. Default proceedings initiated. He downloaded Signal, an encrypted messaging app. Sent a message to the number. Interested in discussing LCG vulnerabilities in legacy slot firmware. The reply came in 30 seconds. Good. First rule, never use real names. Never use this number for anything else. I'm Alex. Who are you? Ethan thought for a moment. Typed. Ethan. Bad choice. Use a pseudonym. I don't need to know who you are. I need to know if you're serious. I'm serious. I have a master's in CS. I've done the math. The exploit is real. I know it's real. I've been running it for 3 years. Made over 2 million. Never been caught. Ethan's hands froze over the keyboard. How? Because I don't play the machines. I sell the method to people who do. They take the risk. I take a cut. Clean. Remote. Untraceable. Why would you tell me this? Because you're smart enough to have found the flaw, but not smart enough to exploit it alone. You'll make mistakes, get caught, waste the opportunity. I can help you. For a price. What price? 40% of your winnings. You send it to me via Bitcoin. I never know your real identity. You never know mine. If you get caught, you can't give me up because you don't know who I am. And what do I get? A list of every vulnerable machine in Atlantic City. Firmware versions, timing windows, probability charts. Everything you need to win consistently without getting flagged. I've mapped 37 machines across 6 properties. You follow my instructions, you'll clear 5 to 10,000 a week. Maybe more if you're disciplined. Ethan stared at the messages. This was it. The offer. The deal. How do I know you're not FBI? You don't. But if I were FBI, I'd have arrested you for the $400 you won at the Majestic Crown 2 weeks ago. Machine LS 400-3471, March 8th, 2:14 p.m. Ethan's blood went cold. Alex knew, had been watching. How? I monitor casino payout anomalies, saw the spike, checked service logs, saw a tech accessed that machine days before. Put it together. You're not the first person to figure this out. But most people don't have the skills to scale it. You do. So, are you in, or are you going to spend the next 10 years paying off debt on a slot tech salary? Ethan looked at his apartment, at the bills, at the email from Navient sitting in his inbox like a court summons. What's the first step? Send me $500 via Bitcoin, proof of commitment. I'll send you the list, encrypted PDF. You try it for a month. If it works, we continue. If not, you walk away, but I promise it works. How do I know you won't just take the $500 and disappear? Because $500 is nothing compared to what I'll make off your 40% over the next year. Think of it as an investment in both of us. Ethan sat in the dark of his apartment, laptop glowing, a decision forming that he couldn't undo. He opened a cryptocurrency exchange, bought $500 in Bitcoin, sent it to the wallet address Alex provided. 3 hours later, a message arrived. Received. Check your encrypted email. Ethan opened the email. Attached, a PDF titled AC Legacy Wire Exploit Map V3 PDF. He downloaded it, opened it. 37 machines, 6 casinos, models, firmware versions, floor locations, timing windows, everything. At the bottom of the document, a single line. Welcome to the pattern. Don't get greedy. Ethan told himself he'd only do it once. One machine, one win, just enough to catch up on loans. But Alex's list had 37 machines, and each one was a doorway Ethan didn't know how to close. April 2018. The Majestic Crown Casino employed a small analytics team tucked away on the 3rd floor of the administrative building, away from the noise of the slot floor. Their job, monitor every machine, every payout, every anomaly. The data was staggering. Millions of spins per day, terabytes of logs. But new software had just been implemented. Predictive analytics, machine learning, the kind of system that could spot patterns humans couldn't. Jordan Reeves sat at her desk, dual monitors glowing, running the monthly variance report. She was 32, data scientist background, hired 2 years ago to modernize the casino's loss prevention systems. She drank cold brew from a mason jar and listened to ambient music through noise-canceling headphones. The job was mostly routine, flagging malfunctioning machines, tracking comp abuse, catching the occasional card counter. But today, the variance report showed something unusual. Anomaly detected, Apex Gaming LS400 series payout variance, push 4.7% above expected, 91.5% RTP. Observed, RTP, 96.2%. Time period, March 1st, March 31st, 2018. Machines affected, 8 units. Statistical significance, P, 0 Rs Dur Jordan frown. She pulled up the detailed breakdown. 8 Apex machines, all older models, all showing payout percentages higher than their programmed return-to-player rate. Not by much. 4.7% was within the realm of normal variance over a short time period. But over a full month across multiple machines, it was suspicious. She ran a deeper query, filtered by individual player activity. Most players showed normal loss patterns. A few showed moderate wins, expected variance. But one player stood out. Player ID 47382, MC sessions, 6 total wagered, 18840 total, $16200 win rate, 337% machines. Played LS400 3471, LS400 2889, LS400 4103. All Apex machines, all with the same firmware version. Jordan pulled the player's profile. Name, Ethan Cross. Employee ID, JT4782. Position, slot technician 2. She stared at the screen. An employee. Playing machines he serviced. Winning at a rate that was statistically improbable. Jordan drafted an email to her supervisor. To Michael Torres, Director of Security. From Jordan Reeves, Analytics RE, Potential Advantage Play, Employee Activity, date April 9th, 2018. Variance report flagged anomalous payout rates on legacy Apex LS400 machines. Cross-reference with player activity reveals employee, Ethan Cross, slot tech, winning at statistically significant rate on these specific units. Recommends surveillance review and investigation. She hit send. Across the building, Michael Torres read the email. Pulled up Ethan's file. Clean record, no prior flags. But the data didn't lie. He made a note. Monitor, do not confront yet, gather evidence. Jordan had worked casino analytics for 6 years. She knew the numbers like a language, and the numbers were screaming. Someone had found a cheat. She just didn't know it was being franchised across the entire city. April to June 2018. Ethan ran Alex's system like a second job. Disciplined, methodical, 3 sessions a week, different casinos, different times, never the same pattern twice. Session log, April 12th, Tropicana, machine LS400, hour 1847, 45 minutes, $3,200 win. April 19th, Borgata, machine LS400, 5521, 38 minutes, $4,800 win. April 26th, Harrah's, machine LS400, 6104, 52 minutes, $2,100 win. He kept a spreadsheet, tracked every win, calculated Alex's cut, 40%, sent Bitcoin payments weekly. By the end of June, Ethan had won $68,000. After Alex's cut, he kept $40,800. He paid off $35,000 in student loans, stopped the garnishment, bought a used Honda Civic, cash, started sleeping through the night for the first time in 2 years. The guilt faded, replaced by something else, entitlement. The casinos rigged the games, he told himself. I'm just leveling the field. He convinced himself he was Robin Hood, taking from the rich, giving to himself. But the system was fragile, built on precision, and Ethan was human. One night in late June, he worked a double shift at the casino, morning maintenance, then covering for a sick coworker until 11 p.m. He was exhausted, but he'd planned a session at the Borgata. Didn't want to miss the window. He drove there, sat at machine LS400, 6891, ran the timing app, but fatigue slowed his reflexes. He missed the optimal window, played during a low probability cycle, lost $800 in 20 minutes. He panicked, kept playing, chased the loss, lost another $600. He stopped, hands shaking, walked to his car, sat in the parking garage spiraling, texted Alex via Signal. The method isn't working. Lost $1,400 tonight. Reply came instantly. You're tired. The math doesn't fail. You do. Rest. Trust the system. You've won 68 Ks in 3 months. One bad night doesn't change that. What if someone's watching? They're not. You're following the protocol. Small wins, different properties, no devices. You look like a lucky recreational player. Stay calm. Ethan closed his eyes. Alex was right. The system worked. He just needed to stay disciplined. But that night lying in bed, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling. He was winning too much. Someone had to notice eventually. By summer, Ethan had won more money in 3 months than his job paid in 2 years. He'd forgotten what it felt like to be afraid. That was his first mistake, July 2018. Michael Torres convened a meeting in the majestic Crown's secure conference room, invited security directors from 6 Atlantic City properties, Tropicana, Borgata, Harrah's, Caesars, Ocean Resort, Golden Nugget. It was unprecedented. Casinos competed. They didn't share information, but this was different. Torres projected Jordan's analysis onto the screen. Multi-property payout anomaly. Affected machines. Apex Gaming, LS400 series, legacy firmware. Time period, March, June 2018. Total anomalous wins, $340,000 across all properties. Pattern, moderate wins, 2K, 5K per session. Short play duration, specific machine models. Hypothesis, systematic exploitation of RNG vulnerability. The room went silent. "You're saying someone cracked the slots?" the Borgata's security chief asked. "I'm saying someone found a flaw," Torres replied. "Jordan, explain." Jordan stepped forward. "The common thread is the machine model. Apex LS400 units manufactured between 2006 and 2012. They use a legacy random number generator. Linear congruential, time-seeded. If someone reverse-engineered the algorithm and timing, they could predict outcomes. Not perfectly, but enough to shift the odds." "How do you predict randomness?" Caesar's director asked. "It's not random. It's pseudo-random. There's a difference. True randomness is quantum. Pseudo-randomness is algorithmic. Algorithms can be cracked. Have you identified the player?" Torres pulled up a photo. Ethan Cross. Employee badge. Service records. "This is Ethan Cross, slot tech at my property, master's degree in computer science, specialization in algorithms. He's been winning at these specific machines across multiple casinos. We've confirmed his players' club activity at 4 properties. Always the same machine type, always short sessions, always moderate wins. So arrest him." "For what? Playing slot machines?" "We have no evidence he tampered with equipment. No devices. No collusion. He just plays and wins. Consistently." "Yes, which means he's either the luckiest man alive or he knows something we don't." The Tropicana's director leaned forward. "What's the vulnerability? Can we patch it?" "We already started," Torres said. "Apex Gaming issued a firmware update last month. Cryptographically secure RNG. But upgrading every legacy machine is expensive and time-consuming. There are probably 1,000 vulnerable units still in operation across the city." "So what's the play?" Torres looked at the photo of Ethan. "We watch him, coordinate surveillance across properties. When he plays again, we document everything, and we bring in the FBI. Because if this kid figured it out, someone else might have too. And if there's a method being shared, if this is bigger than one person, we need to stop it before it becomes a contagion." The room agreed. Within a week, Ethan's face was flagged in every major casino's surveillance system in Atlantic City. He just didn't know it yet. Jordan pulled Ethan's employee file. Former PhD candidate, computer science, specialization, algorithmic probability. She looked at his win records and thought, he didn't get lucky. He reverse-engineered the machines, and he wasn't working alone. August 2018. Ethan met an old friend from grad school, Jake Maloney. They'd been in the same cohort at Rutgers. Jake finished his PhD, went into quantitative finance, made 6 figures, drove a nice car. They met at a bar in Asbury Park, neutral territory away from Atlantic City. Craft beer place, exposed brick, too loud music. "Man, it's been 3 years, Jake said, clinking his beer against Ethan's. "How's life?" "Good, better actually." "Still at the casino?" "Yeah, slot tech." Jake nodded, diplomatic. "That's cool. Pays the bills." "It does now." "What do you mean?" Ethan hesitated. He'd had 3 beers, just enough to loosen his tongue. "I figured out a way to make extra money. Side thing." "Like freelancing?" "Something like that." "Doing what?" Ethan smiled, the kind of smile that came from knowing something no one else did. "Let's just say I figured out how to beat the house." Jake laughed. "What, card counting?" "No, slots." You can't beat slots. That's mathematically impossible. That's what they want you to think. Ethan, come on. The RNGs aren't random. They're pseudo-random, time-seeded LCG algorithms. If you know the parameters, you can predict the outcomes within a probability window. I've been doing it for 5 months. Made 68,000. Jake stared at him. You're serious. Dead serious. That's, illegal, right? Gray area. I'm not tampering with anything. Just exploiting a design flaw. Casinos sell randomness that isn't random. That's fraud. I'm just calling their bluff. Jake didn't laugh. He looked uncomfortable. Ethan, if they find out, they won't. I'm careful. They finished their beers, changed the subject. But Jake left the bar thinking about what Ethan had said. And the next day, he did something Ethan would never forgive. He called the FBI tip line. Mundane obstacle number 2, next day. Ethan's supervisor, Rita, kept him late with questions about a machine calibration issue. Ethan was supposed to leave at 3 p.m., didn't get out until 5. By then he was exhausted. Co-worker wouldn't stop talking. Maintenance gossip, shift drama. Ethan just wanted to leave. But the delay meant he was on the floor longer than planned. More exposure. More time near the flagged machines. Unknown to him, surveillance was now tracking his every move. Ethan woke up the next morning and texted Alex. Still clear? Alex replied, always. But across the city, an FBI agent named Rachel Park was reading a tip that would unravel everything. September 2018. The FBI and the Atlantic City Casino Coalition coordinated quietly. They identified the next machine Ethan would likely target, Borgata Apex LS400-7293. Still running vulnerable firmware, high-value denomination. They set a trap. Step 1. Mark the bills in the machine's hopper with UV reactive ink. Invisible under normal light. Glows under UV scanner. Step 2. Position undercover agents on the floor, posing as players, watching. Step 3. Alert the cage. If Ethan cashes out, verify the bills. If they glow, arrest. September 18th, 7 p.m. Ethan walked into the Borgata. He'd been away from AC for 2 weeks, deliberately, giving the heat time to cool, but his student loans were creeping back up, and Alex had sent him an updated list. New vulnerable machines, new opportunities. He found machine LS400-7293. Sat down, ran the timing app. Played. The system worked. 45 minutes. Win stacking. $4,200 profit. He cashed out. Walked to the cage. Handed the voucher to the cashier. A younger guy, early 20s, looked nervous. Big win, the cashier said. Lucky night. Let me get a supervisor. Verify the amount. Standard procedure. Ethan nodded. The supervisor arrived. Took the voucher. Counted the credits. Ran a UV scanner over the payout bills, ostensibly checking for counterfeits. The bills glowed blue. The supervisor's eyes flicked to a camera. Made a subtle nod. 2 men in suits approached. FBI badges. Ethan Cross? His stomach dropped. You're under arrest for theft by deception, conspiracy to commit fraud, and wire fraud. You have the right to remain silent. The casino floor blurred. Sounds distorted. Ethan's hands were cuffed behind his back. Players stared. Security escorted him through a side door into a back office. His phone was seized, his wallet, his keys. In the holding room, while they waited for transport, one of the agents, Rachel Park, sat across from him. We know about Alex, she said. Ethan's blood went cold. We've been monitoring you for 3 months. We have your win records, your chat logs, your Bitcoin transactions. We know you didn't figure this out alone. So here's your choice. Cooperate, tell us who Alex is, and maybe we can work a deal. Or go down for the whole thing, alone. Ethan stared at the table. He thought about the encrypted messages, the ghost who'd promised safety, the 40% he'd sent to a wallet that led nowhere. I don't know who he is, Ethan said quietly. And even if I did, you'd never find him. That's the point. He's a ghost. As FBI agents read him his rights, Ethan thought about Alex, about the encrypted chats, about the promise that this was safe. He'd trusted a ghost, and ghosts don't get arrested. March 2019, FBI interview room. Ethan's laptop had been seized. Forensic analysis took months. What they found, encrypted chat logs, partially recovered via deleted file carving, conversations with Alex, method discussed, payment arrangements, warnings to stay disciplined, Bitcoin blockchain analysis. Ethan sent $136,000 to a wallet, traced through 3 mixer services, dead-ended at an Estonian exchange. No KYC, know your customer, records. Withdrawal likely to cash or untraceable cryptocurrency. The PDF. Alex's machine list. 37 units. Firmware versions. Timing windows. But no source code. No direct evidence of tampering. Just information. No identity, no real name. No IP logs. Tor routed. No phone records. No photos. Alex was a cipher. Rachel Park sat across from Ethan again. "We've been investigating," she said. "Alex isn't just you. We've identified operatives in Italy, Australia, Singapore. Same method, same machine models, same encrypted chat alias. This is a franchise, and you're not the architect. You're just a customer." "I know. So help us find him." "I can't. I don't know who he is. I don't know where he is. I sent money to a wallet. I got instructions. That's it." We traced the Bitcoin. And dead end, Estonian exchange, no cooperation, funds withdrawn, likely laundered through cash or privacy coins. "He's good." "I told you, he's a ghost." Park leaned back. "We're offering a deal. Plead guilty to conspiracy and theft. 7 years reduced to 18 months if you cooperate fully. Testify about the method. Help us identify other operatives. Help casinos patch the vulnerability. And Alex? We'll keep looking, but I'm not optimistic." Ethan signed the deal. Pleaded guilty. 18 months federal prison, $340,000 restitution, all winnings seized. Lifetime ban from all U.S. casinos. At sentencing, the judge said, "You exploited a system flaw, but you also betrayed the trust of your employer and participated in a conspiracy that defrauded multiple businesses. Ignorance of your co-conspirator's identity does not absolve you." Ethan served 14 months, released early for cooperation. The FBI issued an Interpol notice. Wanted, unknown subject, alias, Alex, A13X47. Charges, conspiracy to commit theft, wire fraud, money laundering description, unknown. Believed to be operating from Eastern Europe or Russia, expert in cryptography, gambling systems, and anonymization techniques. Estimated proceeds, $2.5 million. Reward, $50,000, no arrests, no sightings, no leads. Alex remained what he'd always been, a ghost. Ethan confessed to everything, the method, the machines, the money. But the person who'd sold him the method, the one who'd made $136,000 off Ethan's 40% cuts, vanished like code deleting itself. And the FBI couldn't even prove Alex was real. 2021, 3 years after arrest. Ethan lived in a small apartment in Philadelphia, worked IT support for a medical billing company, $42,000 a year, garnished wages, restitution, no gambling, no casinos, probation for 2 more years. He'd lost everything, the money, the future, the belief that he was smarter than the system. But the industry had changed too. After Ethan's arrest, Apex Gaming issued emergency firmware updates. Every legacy LS400 machine was retrofitted or decommissioned. The new RNG used cryptographically secure algorithms, Fortuna, seeded from hardware entropy sources, thermal noise, unpredictable, uncrackable with current technology. Other manufacturers followed. The old vulnerabilities were patched. But Ethan knew there were still thousands of older machines in smaller markets, tribal casinos, international properties, places without the budget to upgrade, and Alex was still out there. Ethan sometimes checked encrypted forums, saw the alias appear, vague posts, hints, someone offering consulting on legacy gaming systems. Same language, same style, still operating, still winning. One night, Ethan received a message on Signal from an unknown number. "You were a good student, Sorry it ended the way it did. Stay smart. Dunham. Ethan stared at the message, typed a reply. Fuck you. Deleted the conversation, deleted the app, deleted Signal entirely. Because the truth was, Alex had won. He'd used Ethan, used dozens of others, made millions, and disappeared. The FBI had their theories. Russian cybercriminal networks, Eastern European hacker collectives. Maybe a team operating under one alias. Maybe one genius sociopath with a PhD in mathematics and a talent for staying invisible. But theories didn't lead to arrests, and arrests didn't lead to justice. Ethan worked his IT job, paid his restitution, stayed clean, but he never stopped thinking about the pattern, about the machines, about the ghost who'd sold him a dream and left him holding the consequences. And somewhere, in a country whose name Ethan would never know, Alex was still out there, still teaching people how to beat systems designed to be unbeatable, still vanishing before anyone could catch him, because that's what ghosts do. Ethan paid for the crime with 14 months of his life and a debt he'll carry until he dies. Alex paid nothing. The machines are fixed now, cryptographically secure, unhackable by current standards. But the vulnerability existed for over a decade, and the person who weaponized it is still free, still winning, still a ghost. If you discovered a flaw in a system designed to take your money, would you exploit it? And if someone offered to teach you how, a faceless voice promising wealth and safety, would you ask their name? Or would you just take the deal and hope the ghost keeps their promises?